Anyway, let's go to Brad Graham of TheSFNiners. Brad, look, you brought him up earlier, Shasky, saying he's a rising star. A star has been born. This guy is a star. Brad Graham was just in Eagan, Minnesota, covering the joint practices between the Niners and the Vikings. And I believe, first and foremost, Brad just became a father for the first time. Am I correct, Brad? Good morning, Brad.
Second time?
I think
it's the second time.
Brad, good morning. What's up, man?
What's up, guys? I appreciate you having me on. I've been a father a couple times over now, but
gotcha.
Definitely had a good time out there in Eagan, Minnesota, watching these joint practices and watching the boys get after it.
You know, before you get going here, one thing that I do want to say, we were talking about it earlier, you have carved out an incredible impact on social media covering the San Francisco 49ers in a very unconventional way through YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, etc. And, you know, I came up in an unconventional way because I didn't go to broadcast journalism school. And so for the people out there that maybe aren't aware of some of the accounts that you're running, how can they follow some of the content the way you're covering this team right now?
Well, you can find me at the TheSFNiners pretty much everywhere. And I'm really video focused and definitely trying to jump on these new media trends and all that kind of stuff. So you can find me anywhere on those platforms. But also speaking to Shasky's rise, I was a part of that, and it's been a great pleasure to watch you guys and how you've been able to develop your roles in this media market.
Well, Brad, I got to say, man, I was in Europe for 17 days, and I felt like I was at training camp.
Bonte was texting me, and he goes, Brad Graham is killing the coverage of practice. I feel like I'm there.
Dude,
Tell him what you were saying to me.
I was, honestly, you, Jason Aponte, Splash Cousin, Jordan Elliott, I was sitting there thinking, these guys are giving me everything I need right now. I had to fear, I'm not going to lie to you, when I was flying out to Paris, I had to fear of missing out. I said, these guys are doing shows at training camp. I'm sick to my stomach. Guru's there. Everybody's there. I said, I can't believe I'm missing Trey Lance's first training camp as the starting quarterback for the 49ers. But you, Aponte, and Splash Cousin, you guys are out there giving me everything I needed. I want to thank you for that because you did an unbelievable job. And the players are noticing this, Brad. Players are resharing your stuff. They're jumping on your podcast. What does that mean to you? Because you did carve out a lane for yourself, and Niner players respect your work.
I mean, Bonte, first of all, I have to say, I really did have visions of you sitting in a beach in Europe just constantly refreshing Twitter because I know how much of a football guy you are. So I appreciate you saying all that. But it's been a true blessing, the way people have been responding to the content I've been putting out, especially the 49ers players, people within the organization. It's been a blast. But ultimately, I'm just getting to cover one of the things that I love most, and that's football. And on top of that, 49ers football. So it's just been a blessing up until this point.
Yeah,
and it's been a blast.
Yeah, you're freaking killing it. All right, I want to do a meat sandwich of opinions here from you because you've been at pretty much every single practice, both on the road in Minnesota, and you've been to the ones here. I'm doing a running joke, and we'll rat-a-tat-tat the other ones after this because I know you're really in on the offensive and defensive line. Trey Lance, your thoughts?
I think Trey Lance has, throughout training camp up until joint practice, he's looked really good at moments, and he's had his downs at moments. And I think we can all kind of conceptualize that is going to be the case. Going back to the narratives pre-draft and the lack of snaps and reps and all those types of things, I think that's translating into what we're seeing out there on the field. You see all the splash plays. You see the big throws, the big arm, the intangibles, the running ability. You see everything. I think what we're looking at as well is we're seeing him close that gap between ceiling and experience. And when you're watching that play out, you're going to get a lot of really good plays, but you're also going to get plays where you can see he just needs more experience. He just needs more reps getting it done. So overall, I think Trey Lance has the absolute potential to be a phenomenal quarterback in this league. We're just watching the maturation process right now, and which means we're going to get the good, we're going to get the bad, and I think the 49ers are absolutely prepared to continue to work through this. And if Trey Lance can continue to grow, the road at the light at the end of the tunnel is going to be very bright for the young quarterback.
What's the biggest thing he needs to clean up in your estimation after watching him day to day with pads, without pads? If there was one area, no matter what it is, tangible or intangible, what would be the thing you think he needs to work on the most?
There are some small accuracy issues that he has. He tends to throw high sometimes when he is targeting over the middle, and or when he's throwing outside the numbers towards the sideline. He can throw a little low and away. So I think with him, it's just getting those reps under his belt to be able to hit on target every single time. But I don't see that as an issue necessarily that can mitigate his progress, and he will continue to get better at those things.
Brad Graham of the TheSFNiners account on Instagram, on Twitter. He's doing daily content, videos, YouTube, you name it, podcast. Follow Brad Graham, man. It's really a good follow if you want all 49ers content, good 49ers content at that. He was in Eagan, Minnesota, and we'll get to Nick Bosa in just a second because it's just every single day I hear something new about Nick Bosa dominating opposing offensive linemen. But Brendan Ayuk yesterday said he felt like he didn't get a lot of work done in the joint practices. Felt like, it was kind of a waste of time. What do you think Brendan Ayuk meant by that, Brad? You were there at the joint practices. What do you think he meant? Was it the Vikings secondary not giving him work? What did BA mean by that?
I personally feel like it was due to the struggles of the offense as a whole. We understand what Trent Williams is, right? He's one of the best players, if not the best player in the NFL at left tackle. But you look down the right side, and you from left guard to right tackle, you have all brand new players who have very limited starts under their belt. And the 49ers offense was going up against a stout defensive line with Zadarius Smith, Danielle Hunter, Dalvin Tomlinson, and they were given that O-line fits. And on that particular part of the field, when a sack would occur, they would blow the play dead. Or if they were giving up pressures, Trey would have to scramble or get out of there. So my perception of kind of what Brandon Ayuk was saying was more like, there wasn't a whole lot of work getting done because the defense on the Vikings side was making it pretty difficult for the 49ers to really get into a rhythm and do those types of things. That was my takeaway from Brandon Ayuk's comments because it did feel like the O-line was struggling a little bit.
So is this concern with the O-line? Because that's my biggest worry outside of Trent Williams. Boy, if Trent Williams goes down, what is this offensive line going to look like here? McGlinchey, Burford, Banks, the center position. Is that still a big-time concern? Is that still a big-time question mark? And is that something we're going to have to track all season long?
I definitely think it's something that we're going to have to track all season long. Again, Banks, Brendel, Burford, and you don't even have McGlinchey right now. You have Colton McKivitson at right tackle. And if Trent goes down, it's going to be quite a long ride. But I think you can tell that Banks and Burford are still getting their legs under them. They both have potential to be really good, but also at the same time, just like we talked about Trey Lance, you need reps. You need to be able to get out there and show and do it on a consistent basis. And right now, they've had a lot of opportunities to go up against the vaunted defensive line from the 49ers, but now they got to go against another really solid D-line that they didn't have previous experience against. And I think you could see some of that inexperience really showing in these practices, which translated into I kept using the word clunky. It felt like a clunky offensive 2-day period from the 49ers.
Interesting.
Is it alarming, though? Is this something that would, because that could derail a season. Most football fans aren't as discerning enough to understand how sophisticated offensive and defensive line play is. But we know, that guy blew that assignment, and the guy went right around him and sacked the quarterback.
Especially for a young quarterback, Shasky, like Trey Lance.
I know. And this is something that you really study, the trenches. So is this something that could derail the season for them?
I don't think it would derail the season, but I think it could make the continuity on the offense a lot harder. But also with the additions of Anthony Lynn to the coaching staff, you're also seeing an implementation of a lot more quick passing game to running backs. And so that can aid Trey Lance. Also the run game, once they're able to get more into a rhythm with the run game, then you work play action off the run game, you integrate zone read with Trey Lance, and you start getting 11-on-11 football. I think that's ultimately, once Kyle starts, gets into the lab and puts the mad scientist coat on, I think that's going to help everyone. Right now, they're not scheming against the Vikings. They're just lining up and running their plays. I think once you see Kyle Shanahan start running all his tricks out there, it's going to really aid the offensive line, and it's going to aid everyone else. Obviously, it's going to be something that we continue to monitor with these guys that don't have a ton of experience up front. But I think ultimately it's going to be a work in progress. And we can go back to last year. The 49ers offense didn't really kick it into gear until like week 10.
Yeah.
So I would imagine something similar this year. There's going to be some early bumps and bruises along the way. But once they start to build that confidence and continuity, I think it could get better. But again, it's going to be a work in progress.
All right, Brad Graham, he's the man. He was just in Eagan, Minnesota, covering the joint practices. Follow him on Twitter at SFNiners, Instagram, YouTube at SFNiners. Does a lot of great things with this content when it comes to 49er football. All right, the man of the hour, Nick Bosa. All right, Nick every single day. I watch him. I told Shasky
tired
this.
of me because I'm obsessed with Bosa.
He is, and I love Bosa too. But listen, I was watching something with Barry Sanders and Rich Eisen. I'm in Europe. I'm a psychopath, Brad. I'm watching old interviews. I sent Shasky a George Steinbrenner interview with Mike and the Bagdog from 1990. That's what I'm doing at the pool, right? So Barry Sanders talking about the greatest pass rusher of all time, and he's like, Richie White just dominated. Lawrence Taylor just dominated. And the way I see Nick Bosa dominating, I'm saying, man, if this guy is healthy for the next 15 years, he's going to be talked about in that light amongst those greats. What he did in Minnesota, from what I saw from your videos, this guy looks like he's on pace for 20 sacks this year. Hasn't even started yet, but it looks like if Bosa's healthy, he's going to be a menace.
Bonte, Butch, Nick Bosa was by far and away the best player on the field for these joint practices. And you're talking about a star-studded roster on both sides. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. I mean, the list goes on, and we already know who's on the 49ers. Nick Bosa was far and away the best player on the field, and it was highlighted by this 1 3-play sequence that he had where he absolutely tosses a tight end to the side, gets an instant sack, disrupts the play. Very next play comes back against a very promising second-year left tackle in Christian Darrisaw. Absolutely bull rushes him to the point of attack and collapses the pocket right on Kirk Cousins for another sack. Then comes back the very next play for a tackle for loss on Dalvin Cook. And it was like you guys would be geeking out, because I know you guys are football nerds just like me. And watching Nick Bosa out there absolutely demolish these guys was pure football entertainment. I filmed 4 definitive sacks, 2 tackles. I didn't even film all of them. I missed some of them. The constant pressures and sacks that Nick Bosa was, and it was a completely different gear than the day before, which he was winning, but something sparked him. I'm not going to speculate to what it is, but something sparked him this second day of practice where he said, I am not pulling up. I'm not gearing down, and he absolutely demolished the Vikings offense.
Brad, you are, about our age, and so when I say this person's name, you're going to feel similar. Like when I say Patrick Willis to people our age's name, they're like, yeah, Willis meant so much more than just the player on the field. But the player on the field is as good as it gets in terms of Hall of Fame body of work from day one to the end. I wish he would have played longer, neither here nor there. I watched one game. We didn't see any preseason of Nick Bosa. I watched one game with Bonte. It was the Tampa Bay game on the road. And I remember coming in, and I said, Bonte, this kid could be a Hall of Famer. I said it right from the get-go. And he thought I was completely insane. I go, you've seen like 15 snaps. And I watched this guy at practice, and I see him compared to all the other guys. He doesn't breathe. He looks like he was built in a genetic lab, like the 50 Cent video, Go Shorty, It's Your Birthday. The abs are showing, and he is destroyed. He doesn't even have a bad rep. Brad Graham, tell Bonte how great he is at practice.
Bonte knows. I don't have to tell him.
He's unstoppable.
Brad, listen.
He's unstoppable.
Brad, I took Shasky to his first ever training camp practice, right? Yeah. And we're walking on the side field. I go, hey, what's up, Big Bear? And he looks back at us and goes, hey, and he's just running sprints by himself. And I'm like, look how ripped this guy
out
is.
Of his mind.
He does look crazy.
His thighs are bigger than me.
I know. And he's hitting the sled. You know, when Chris Koserik's yelling at the D-line, come on, get off. And they're yelling and the beat's blaring and he's getting off. And if he gets beat, he's ticked off and he goes back into the drill to try to make sure he wins that competition. I know how great Nick Bosa is. But Shasky, I'll give Shasky credit this, though.
No. I think he's the best football player I've ever seen. Listen, and it sounds insane to say that out loud.
2019, Brad, Shasky did say this on the postgame show. We're live at the Hilton. They beat the Steelers to go to 3-0 for the first time since Mooch was coaching the team. And we're going crazy. And Shasky goes, you know, Nick Bosa reminds me of Michael Strahan. Now, I think now he's Michael Strahan on drugs. This guy may be better than Michael Strahan.
Oh, I think so, too. I mean, again, and speaking to the body beautiful Nick Bosa, he came out one training camp. You know, he has his jersey tucked up and under the pads. You could literally see his abs from 150 yards away. It's unbelievable. I do believe he was built in a football lab somewhere deep underground.
Thank you.
But I do think that he is going to be one of the best 49er players to ever walk through those doors. It's crazy to say that because just like Shasky talked about, you know, Patrick Willis's and the long list.
Ronnie Lott.
Yeah, Charles Haley.
49ers.
Yeah, Bryant
exactly.
Young.
There's so many.
Brad, we're up against it here. Good. Brad, sorry to cut you off. We're up against it here, but let's rat-a-tat-tat some things that you saw in Minnesota real quick. And Shasky, you come in on this. Quickly, Javon Kinlaw, how's he looking?
Oh, Javon Kinlaw, consistently demanding double teams, which is exactly what I want to see. Consistently collapsing the pocket from the interior, had a nasty pancake on starting left guard, was absolutely beautiful. Really loving what I'm seeing from Javon Kinlaw.
Second-round pick Drake Jackson on the edge.
Drake Jackson shows a ton of promise. He has the traits, the intangibles that you want to see. Outside moves, inside moves. He had a couple pass deflections, couple sacks. He looks really good. He's going to be a really good addition to that defensive line.
Running back room. What's going on with Trey Sermon?
Yeah,
I saw that too yesterday. Trey Sermon looks like he's dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury, which means they might rely more on Ty Davis-Price and maybe Jordan Mason and Jeff Wilson. Obviously, Elijah Mitchell's not practicing. But I like what I've seen from TDP and especially Jordan Mason so far.
Yeah, I'm a big TDP guy, big time. All right, Charvarius Ward, from what you've seen, obviously he's hurt right now. I felt like he was unstoppable in terms of when they were putting a wide receiver on him, no one was getting separation on him. Is he the most important player to this defense?
I still think Nick Bosa is the most important player, but you cannot discredit Charvarius Ward, Emmanuel Mosley, Jimmy Ward, those guys' effectiveness to this defense. Obviously, the front seven is elite, and those guys that I mentioned weren't practicing in Minnesota, and you could tell. But when all those guys are on the field, this defense is going to be absolutely special, and Charvarius Ward, E-Man, and Jimmy Ward are going to play a huge role in that.
Well, we all believe this defense will be special. We believe the 49ers will have a special season. But, Brad, you're having a special run. Your Twitter account is blowing up. Your Instagram account is blowing up. You get views out of the gang. Everybody's sharing your stuff. Brad Graham of TheSFNiners. Follow him. You're doing a great job, Brad. Seriously. And this wasn't your first appearance on the Morning Roast. It definitely will not be your last this season. Brad Graham, continue the great work, man.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Brad Graham doing a great job. We go from Brad Graham to Laura Britt. The queen of the roast is coming back.